The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, my name is Joy Barrett. I'm the Executive Director with the Granite State Children's Alliance. We operate 5 child advocacy centers here in New Hampshire. And over the years, I've had the privilege of working with some really incredible organizations here in New Hampshire, and it just gives me a great privilege to be able to have this opportunity to talk to executive directors throughout the state about the work that they do. And I want to challenge all of you out there to really think of the word nonprofit in a different way when you start to learn about the organizations in our great state. We have great profits. We are empowering people. We're protecting children. We're preserving our environment. And so I want you to tune in to New Hampshire Cares and really learn a little bit about our nonprofit, our great state of New Hampshire, and the work that we do for people in our community. Hi, and welcome to New Hampshire Cares. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our next guests. We have Valerie Carignan and Henry Harris here from Southern New Hampshire Services. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. And of course, I love Southern New Hampshire Services. Very familiar with the programming there, and I know there's a wide range of services that you all provide for people in Hillsborough and Rockingham County now. So I would love to start with you, Henry, and maybe tell us a little bit about the program that's really right at our heels, being it's summertime.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, so welcome.
Yeah, we're gearing up. In fact, we're starting tonight with the Summer Food Service Program.
Wow.
Which is a program that continues the school lunches through the summer vacation when school cafeterias tend not to, they shut down for the summer. So it's a way to keep kids connected to nutrition.
Wow.
And to at least provide a meal during the day, so that for a lot of kids that's their only meal they get. So it's a great program. We have sites in Manchester, Nashua, Derry, Portsmouth, and Seabrook.
Wow.
And to put a little perspective on it, we served in Manchester about 8,000 meals last summer.
8,000 meals in one summer in Manchester.
Yep. Wow. So we've actually expanded a few sites, so we're hoping to grow this program. And this year, we're going to, like I said, add those sites, and then we're going to, hopefully next year, be able to add more.
Sure. Because, of course, reaching the kids is really critically important, because during the summertime, when we have them in the schools, it's a little easier to have our arms around them and be able to feed them, which essentially is what you're doing. But during the summer, you've got to then hit those key populations and know where the kids are, and and not wanting to miss a kid. So in Manchester, what are some of the locations that you've partnered with?
Well, we have our summer sites. We are at Beach Hill Apartments.
Okay.
We will take housing sites.
So housing, okay.
Working with the housing managers to make sure that we can hang door hangers on the residents. So then they're good at letting us know where the families, so that we can actually make sure that we're getting posters and flyers out to them. Mm-hmm. We do the pools and parks around the city. So those are kind of open sites. Anyone can come if they're under 18 and receive a meal. So we do lunch sites and supper sites, breakfast sites as well, depending on the location. And if people want to find out, they can look on our website for Southern New Hampshire Services. Local libraries will have schedules set up.
Schedules and all of that. I would imagine that it's one of those things that I'll tell 2 friends, and so on, and that, families in need of those services for their kids, that good news travels fast,
Yeah.
right? And so, hopefully you're spreading the word that way as well.
Well, and we hope so. And we want to, for parents, what do you tell your kids? Don't talk to strangers, don't take food from strangers. And here we are out in a park trying to give them food. So, our staff wear T-shirts that promote the summer program and Southern New Hampshire Services. And we try to do as much branding and marketing in terms of print. We're in the paper as well. They'll run the schedules in all the different communities that we serve. But it's really, I think, for parents who work, this is a great program because, their kids have a place to go for lunch.
Right. And we don't want that to be a barrier for families who are really trying to sustain their family with working one or some, 2 or more jobs. Now, I know, Valerie, you also work in a very important program over at Southern New Hampshire Services, the WIC program. I have learned through a little bee in my ear that you actually have a new title, that you've been with WIC for quite a period of time, but now you're the director of that particular program. So first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's pretty awesome, right?
Yes, it is.
But maybe tell us a little bit about WIC, and even, some of our audience might not even know what WIC stands for.
The WIC program, WIC stands for Women, Infant, and Children. It's funded through the United States Department of Agriculture and state ran.
Excellent.
I run the WIC program at the local agency, Southern New Hampshire Services, and we service women who are pregnant, breastfeeding, or postpartum, infants, and then children up to the age of 5. And within that, we have a nutritional background with it. So there's counseling for, pregnant moms and if they're going to be breastfeeding their new babies. So it's a nutritional-based program.
Sure.
They end up with a food package to bring to the local grocery store to be able to purchase certain nutrition food items. So whether they're an infant, then it would be a formula package. And it changes a little bit as the infant gets a little older and has more needs for baby food. And then a child's food package consists of, it's changed so much. We do cereals and eggs and cheese and peanut butter. The food package is changing again in July. We're adding pastas and yogurts.
Oh, nice.
So it's really a really great program for those who don't know about WIC or where to find us, which we are, with Southern New Hampshire Services. So we're trying to really build and let people know where we are and what we do.
Right. Well, and you are what you eat, right?
Absolutely.
So, at an early age, not only educating families about important nutrition while they're carrying their child, but then kind of carrying that education through to the child, obviously, as they develop and by the age of 5, hopefully, they've gotten some good messages.
Absolutely.
At least, maybe to pick the carrot instead of the Twinkie, right? But I know it's a very, very important program, and I think it's again, nutrition is just so important, for development, educationally, being able to go to school and being able to function. So, I applaud, Southern certainly for being involved with that, but for the two of you for working in this initiative, it's pretty terrific. Now, you're new to your program, though. In the first year, did you go through it last summer? So is this now your second summer watching this program evolve with the summer food?
This is my first.
This will be your first summer.
First run. In the past, I've ran some programs that used the summer meal program, summer food service, to sustain like a summer camp and things that I run in different programs. But this is definitely on this scale, hitting Hillsborough and Rockingham counties. That's a lot of sites. So,
a lot of responsibility too.
We're fortunate though. We have a really good staff, and they've been here with us we've been doing this 13 years.
Wow.
And so many of that staff are continued on to be part of that. So
you're a well-oiled machine with knowing really the best practices for, getting the food to where it needs to be.
Yeah. And, the other thing that's really neat about the program is we get to hire local kids, 18, they're going off to college, but they're from the communities, and we try to hire them for the summer meal program. So it's a nice way for them to give back to their communities.
Sure.
And to help, kind of build that trust with the kids who participate.
Wow, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Win-win scenario. And same with you with, you probably have seen some people go through the program, because you've been with WIC for how many years now?
21.
21 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
What did you start when you were 4?
No. We won't discuss age.
Well, you know, have you seen some really wonderful stories come through, specifically in your program of people that really not only have appreciated it, because I would say that that goes without question, but you know, people that you have seen really have been, if had it not for WIC, you know, really had a different circumstance in life.
Absolutely. We do get a lot of feedback from moms, especially when their child's kind of graduating from WIC, that, you know, thank you so much. If it wasn't for the services here, I don't know how I would be able to feed my child, or if they'd be as healthy as they are today. We get a lot of feedback with breastfeeding moms who, they're young moms and they really want to do the right thing by breastfeeding their child. And it's a challenge for them. So we have peer counselors and nutritionists that work with them to help them to succeed to be able to breastfeed their children. So that's a really big excitement for someone who is young and new and needs to know that they're doing things the right way.
It's scary to be a first-time mom, even with the best of circumstances. It's really kind of frightening. So to have a program that kind of supports you through that, and gives you all the education and services that you need is pretty important. Absolutely. Is there any one particular story that you have of someone, or anybody that worked for you currently that was a recipient of WIC?
We've had staff that were part of the WIC program.
Sure.
We may still have a couple that are still part of it that receive WIC, and they live by it. I mean, it's not only do they receive it, but they work it. So they're on both sides of it. Right. They have a really good understanding for it. And I love the fact that you hire 18-year-olds or older. I mean, I think it's good for them to kind of have an understanding of really some of the social issues that are in front of us, but also be able to feel like they're part of a solution, of giving back. So that's terrific. What brought you, Henry, to this work? I mean, what made you say I really want to move over to do this?
Well, I started working in a resource center in a pretty impoverished community as when I first started, and I got into this, and I really liked the work of trying to connect the dots in the community and bring in resources and be able to say, okay, if I can get this partner to work with this partner, we can better serve this population or this group. And I love my job. I mean, I'm out all the time doing that, and it's talking with people, and I like trying to get grocery carts for for seniors so that they can carry their food out, little things like that. It's fun, and it's always a different day. And just working with doing the outreach. I mean, you're asking about stories. I run into all kinds of people who were on the WIC program and say, "Oh, I remember I was a WIC kid, or I'm this, I was a WIC parent." And so we, when we're out and we're kind of supporting families who are economically challenged, food and nutrition is such a huge part of that, because that's the first thing that gets sacrificed is nutrition. Yeah. So, the work that we're doing with WIC and with the summer food program, and then also with the seniors in the commodity food program, we're kind of covering it as best we can all the way through. That's great. Well, and being creative, like you said, with being able to connect the dots with, certain partnerships and know where you need to kind of place in kind of those other ideas to make it convenient for, and match the populations that you're serving. Yeah. Well, we're going to take a quick break. I want to invite you to come back and tune in. Of course, we're with Henry and Valerie from Southern New Hampshire Services, so come right back and see us. My love
neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
Welcome back to New Hampshire Cares. It's my pleasure to be sitting with Valerie and Henry from Southern New Hampshire Services, and we're talking about food, really. We're talking about food and healthy kids and good starts and working with seniors and all that good stuff. So again, thanks for joining me today and giving me even some education about the program that you work for. I know before the break we talked a lot about WIC and certainly the summer food program, and I always like to ask the question of my guests as to where they might make some investments in their programs or organizations if they were to have a tree in their backyard filled with money, and we're waiting for the viewer that calls in and says that they have the seed for that. And my organization as well would enjoy the seed for that. But where you'd make those investments, because I know that oftentimes there's not enough in resources to serve the people that we need to serve. And it's always interesting the answers I get back as to where they would make that. So Henry, I'll start with you with the summer food program. And I know this is your first summer, so you've not really gone through a summer yet with with the program, but you're so knowledgeable with it by being, having been affiliated.
Sure. Well, I mean, obviously, it's. I think probably if you had just a bunch of money, it would be able to expand the program. So I mean, it really comes down to, do you have a kitchen big enough to make the food? Do you have the staff large enough to spread it out? I mean, the one thing we struggle with is growing the program without getting too far ahead of ourselves and not being able to support a community.
Right.
Because you can make a lot of promises and go into a community saying we're going to do this, and then if the numbers aren't there, it's really about what we can do.
Right.
And we have to kind of make it. It's definitely a business. We have to keep it profitable in terms of. We don't make any money, but we have to break even.
You have to at least break even.
Right. And it's a very tight budget. Mm-hmm. So having a little flexibility would be great. But I think realistically, I mean, you look at communities, there's so much talent and so much resources that are out there. And I would love, just networking. We're already working with communities to look for volunteers in ways that we can approach a community that's willing to be, like, we would sponsor them to help sponsor that site.
Wow.
So using other people to staff it within
so kind of leveraging workforce with partnerships.
And there's lots of opportunities to get involved that way. So.
Wow. Well, and I imagine, to your point, where you don't want to overpromise, because then, unfortunately, if there's a year that you can't provide that service, it's going to be really challenging. But at the same time, you want to help all children or all families that really need the support, and it becomes really a challenge to do on a shoestring.
Yep.
And be able to. And it was funny because you mentioned something that I really didn't register the first time that we spoke, which is a kitchen. To cook the food. Somehow in my mind, I'm envisioning kind of a brown bag of already prepared things.
In all fairness, that's what we do, because that's the easiest, and we can serve more people that way than we could doing the kitchen. But it's still in our. But
so you have to have a kitchen to do the brown bag, right?
Yeah.
Now, where is that located?
It's at our 40 Pine Street site.
Oh, it is. Okay, so it's right in Manchester, where you kind of deploy all that. Like a mission. That's terrific. How many employees do you have?
We have 13 this summer.
Wow. And that's for both Hillsborough County?
Yeah. So we're based out of the Pine Street office in Manchester. So even going out to Portsmouth and Seabrook, they have to leave from Manchester to do that.
Wow. So 13 people feed how many people or how many kids?
Across the board?
Across the board.
I thought they were. I
think it's around 40,000 meals a
40,000 meals a summer.
Yeah.
So 18 people serve 40,000 meals a summer.
It's a lot of bags and
a lot of brown bag ones.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And that's including. There's some sites that are breakfast only, and lunch and supper. So it's kind of spread out. But
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a lot of work. That's like a mission in itself.
It is.
So what would I find in my brown bag?
It varies. I mean, there's you might find fajitas one day. You might find a peanut butter. Well, we don't use peanut butter, but sun butter and jelly
Right.
sandwich. You might find there's like diced chicken. You could find
Really?
a
So
lot
you
of
mix
different-
it up, which is
we do,
kind of nice.
because kids are picky. You gotta.
Yeah, tell me
They're the
about
toughest
it.
customer
Yeah,
we have. So you really want to you want to make sure that they're getting what they want.
Right. Well, you want to make sure they're eating it. I mean, with
Yeah.
kids, I think what's the challenge is that they're more likely to say that they don't want it, and of course, then that defeats the purpose of wanting to be able to feed them. Again, we know.
And so that there's standard. There's always milk. There's always there's components that we would put in. There's cheese. Certain things that they would nutritionally would be benefited by.
Wow.
So.
That's great. Well, I have some ideas how you might want to develop into partnerships with businesses, but we'll talk offline with
after?
that.
All
Yeah.
right.
And so now with Valerie, with you, if you had that tree right outside the window in your office with all kinds of currency printed on it, is there anything in particular that you find within your program, which is, again, a very well-oiled program providing a service? Is there anything in particular that sticks out to you?
It would be more access to interpreters. We do work with an interpreter service, but sometimes it's long waits waiting on the phone or getting a hold of one of them to be able to work as a three-way phone conversation with the interpreter, ourselves and the participant. So easier access to maybe more variety of having them around more or different agencies that we can work with versus just that one.
And so how many languages do you find of what you need from an interpreter? Because I'm always, there's always the communication barriers that we're all very familiar with Spanish speaking people. And there's obviously, I'm sure you get quite a
The
bit.
interpreter services that we use has like 56 different languages.
Wow.
And we use quite a few. Our biggest population is Spanish, but we do have like Bosnian and different Vietnamese, Nepali.
And then there are the dialects, right?
But in the Manchester School District, there's, I think it's reported as 72 different dialects.
Really?
So that's, and that's our population.
Right.
So there's a huge need for
for interpreters and services in that respect. Can you speak another language?
No.
Me neither. Don't
I
feel
have a
bad.
couple staff that can speak Spanish.
Do you?
But,
Yeah.
Yeah. And one that speaks French, but that's only 3 staff. So
Right.
all the rest are just
Right.
English speaking.
And then you have to use the service to be able to provide the service, really. So,
Absolutely.
because communication is key, being able to do that.
We have to make sure that when our participants leave our clinic that they know exactly how to use those vouchers at the store, what foods they can purchase with them, what foods they cannot. So it's really
Some education around it.
Absolutely.
Wow. Now, it's always interesting how people come to this work, and I always like to know a little bit about, you as people. So maybe, we'll start with you, Henry. Tell us a little bit about yourself. And I say this because there's always, I know professionally you come to this job for certain reasons, but there's always something personally that kind of drives you to really want to help people, and it lets us have a little insight as to who really is doing this important work in New Hampshire.
That's a good question. I kind of, my parents were pretty involved in the community growing up. They were always, involved in different community activities, and I just kind of grew up that way. And I came into this kind of working in a resource center, and I've spent about 10 years in therapeutic foster care before that, and then I went back to school and got my MSW, and I just kind of landed here, which is a great, perfect
fit, really.
perfect environment to kind of pull all those things together. So,
are you a New Hampshire kid?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Born and raised Mount Vernon.
Oh, Mount Vernon, New Hampshire. That's awesome. And how about you, Valerie?
I'm just I'm a people person. My passion is people, helping people. I've always been that way since I was young. If I make a difference in one person's life a day, to me, that's the best reward I could ever have. Might go hand in hand with, being a mom of 4 children, and you're always making sure everyone's needs are met. So it just, yeah.
So you have a great deal of understanding and empathy,
Absolutely,
to know
yeah.
what that's like to raise kids and want to do your best by them and kind of make all that happen. Are you also from New Hampshire at all?
I am born and raised
Really?
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Manchester. Yeah. I love Manchester. It's pretty awesome in Manchester. And of course, the Verizon Center, my son graduated on Sunday at the Verizon Center, so you've probably seen a lot of changes in Manchester over the years.
My youngest daughter graduated Saturday at the Verizon.
There you go. Yeah. It's a popular spot this day and time. Well, we have a few more minutes left, and I guess what I wanted to have you kind of bring to light, I do know Southern New Hampshire Services is a large organization really doing large, great stuff, obviously in Hillsborough and Rockingham County, but really helping a lot of our residents in those counties, in our communities. Are there other programs that you're very familiar with because you work closely within Southern that you'd like to give a shout out to or let us know a little bit about?
Yeah, that would be the Commodity Supplemental Food Program. Henry, really, we run it together.
Oh, okay.
And that's
so the dynamic duo.
Yeah. That is a program for seniors 60 years and older.
Okay.
They actually come into our
Outreach office.
Thank you. Outreach office, and they get to shop and pick out a certain list of foods, certain amounts. It's about a $50 food package. So, seniors, when it comes down to food, it's like, okay, do I buy my medication or do I eat? So that alone, just getting that word out there that, we can help you, give us a call or go to our website and,
can they kind of shop, so to speak, for the things that they need in the pantry?
Yeah.
It's a so it's it's a way to add to what you already have. So if you're
Supplement.
take supplement out of your grocery bill, and it's about a $50 to $60 value, so it's really worth doing. And we also serve different housing communities for seniors as drop sites. So we'll bring care packages out to their sites so that because transportation's tough, so if we can get enough in an area, we'll set them up on our route.
You can deploy the food where it needs to go. And socially, for seniors to be either have that visit of somebody coming in. I know that from Meals on Wheels, right? That visit is almost as important as well as the interaction when they come to be able to, shop at the pantry, being able to talk to people. That's obviously uplifting as well. Well, I want to thank the two of you so much for coming in today. It's a pleasure to meet you. Sorry I didn't know you when I was there years ago, but I'm sure our paths will cross again. And again, I want to thank you so much. So again, thanks for tuning into New Hampshire Cares. It is my pleasure to have had Valerie and Henry here today, and tune in next time. Thank you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.